So here's another exciting game. Here I have the black pieces. I'm playing against a stronger opponent. He opens with pawn to e4, and I respond with pawn to e5. He brings out his white bishop pretty early and looks to start his attack. I play what is commonly known as the Petro defense with knight to f6. He brings out his queen looking for some early initiative. I push the center looking to disrupt his plans. He takes, I threaten the queen. He moves the queen, and then I just continue developing, looking to get my pieces out quicker than his. He should have a tempo on me, but as you see, I kind of get in a tough spot, but I'm able to make a good move to get out of it. So he threatens the pawn. I can't capture because that would put me in check. So I just decide to castle, get myself out of this pin. He wins a pawn, but I still have pretty good initiative here. So I like eyeing his queen and his king with my rook. Maybe I'll be able to win the queen. But he defends the pawn, so I can't capture. So I think to myself, well, I'll just double up on this file with the queen and the rook. But he's savvy to it, and he castles. If he hadn't castled here, I would have had some tricky moves to potentially, pin that queen to the king. But alas, he castles. I push my c-pawn, he captures, which is good for me. It helps me develop a little bit quicker. And then with this, I really didn't like this move for him. This b3 move for him gives me a lot of options, and it gives me something to attack. So I want to put my dark square bishop on e5 and eye his rook. But his knight's guarding that square right now, so I'm looking just to trade, get that powerful knight out of there, because my light squared bishop wasn't really doing much for me at the time. So we trade, he captures back with the queen, and then I put my dark squared bishop on e5. You can't block with the bishop or the knight, as they just hang, and I could pick them up for free. The only move here is c3, which he plays. So I say, okay, you have a weak pawn structure, I'm going to go after it. I develop my rook, and he plays pawn to d4, which loses the game on the spot. And see if you can find the move that wins the game for black. I'll give you a couple seconds. Pause the video if you like. But the move is knight captures pawn d4. The reason being is it threatens I guess it doesn't win the game on the spot if he doesn't capture back. It's just winning a pawn. But if he does capture, you have a nice double attack on both the rook and the king. And because he chose to capture, I was able to win this game pretty quickly. My opponent, in desperation, goes for a quick mate. Hangs a pawn on e4. Yeah, and then goes for a quick checkmate, which I play g6. A better move, and looking back on this, is knight to h5, forcing the queen to move. It goes into a pretty nice line. But yeah, at this point, he captures my rook, which loses the game. Well, at least loses the queen. You can either A, just capture the rook with the bishop, which wins the game, or a better move is rook to e1. Puts the king in check, and if the queen captures, you capture his queen, and he's still in check. Or if you move the king to h2, you just play bishop to e5, excuse me, and pins the queen to the king. Checkmate's, he can capture, but checkmate's coming. So pretty much winning the game on the spot. This was a really good game for me. This opponent was almost 60 points higher than me, so it was a pretty good win. Hope you enjoyed the game, and we'll see you next time.